Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I have a very special recipe to share with you today, and it's called pan de muerto, which translates to bread of the dead. And it's super common and popular in Mexico around this time of the year. The 2nd of November is the Day of the Dead, so everybody has this with a nice cup of hot chocolate. So let's learn how to make it. We start off with a yeast dough, and in order to get that going, we need to activate our yeast. So I have some lukewarm milk here, to which I crumble on top of this fresh yeast that I have. If you're using yeast in powder, you can just cut the amount that I quote by half. To that, I'm adding about 1/4 cup of flour, just to make a paste out of it, and a little pinch of sugar. Sugar helps the yeast kind of ferment quicker. So we're gonna stir this up. We're gonna set it aside for 30 minutes in a warm place for it to do its thing. And in the meantime, we can prepare everything else for our bread. So this is kind of the consistency that you're looking for. It doesn't have to be completely specific at this point. So this is what that looks like after 30 minutes. You can see there's a lot of activity going on, and this is a great way to tell if your yeast is active or not. So with the rest of the flour, I'm gonna just dump it in a bowl. You can just do this on the countertop, that's completely up to you, but this helps keep the mess more localized. So we can make a little bit of a dip in the center where all of our ingredients are gonna go, except for the salt. I like to keep the salt as away as possible from the yeast paste, because salt is a killer of yeast. So at this point, I just put it around the edges of this little volcano of flour. So in the center, I'm gonna try to add my orange zest. And this bread has a beautiful orangey aroma and flavor that is very subtle yet delicious. And to that, I also add a secret ingredient, which is orange blossom water. If you can't get access to that, that's fine to leave out. I have 1 egg yolk and 1 whole egg. And I'm dumping that beautiful active yeast paste in the center. Now we're ready to combine this until it forms a nice paste. I'm starting in the center and just gently swirling around. And as I do this, I start incorporating the flour. At some point, right before I combine all of the flour, I transfer it to my worktop, because I like to work in the last bit of flour by hand, like so. You want to knead this until all the flour is incorporated, and you should have a sticky mess like this, which you have to work for a few minutes in order to get a more cohesive paste. So I add a little bit of flour to my hands, because this is a good way to avoid overusing flour. And in the end, you want to end up with something that's sticking like this, but you can still work it and form a ball and such. So this is ready for the last ingredient for the yeast dough, and that is unsalted butter. And this is at room temperature. All of the ingredients should be at room temperature when you're working with yeast. So I'm slowly adding it. I'm kneading as I add, just to make sure it's evenly incorporated. And it is messy. You want to get in there. You can also use a stand mixer for this, and just make sure that you use the hook attachment, which is ideal for these kind of doughs. And once you get all that butter in, you have to start kneading, which is a great workout, I have to say. I'm kneading for about 10 minutes. It can take longer. I do have small hands and very cold hands, so that doesn't really help me, but It could go a bit longer for you depending on how vigorously you're doing this. And in the end, you will see that the dough becomes firmer, then it gets a bit sticky, and then it becomes firm again. And this is what you're looking for. It is a little bit sticky, but you can still form a nice ball without it sticking all over your hands. And anytime you need to add flour, just flour your hands and have a look if that helps and if it's enough. Now this is ready for its first fermentation. I'm taking a bowl that is a lot bigger than the dough bowl, and I'm gonna cover that and let it sit for about 2 hours in a very warm spot until it doubles in size. And that's what this looks like. You can punch it down just to get the air out. And we're gonna start shaping our Day of the Dead bread. So a slight sprinkle of flour onto my surface. And we're gonna divide this into 2. And this will be 2 medium pieces. I have the measurements right here. We're gonna divide this into 2 bowls, and each bowl will have 4 components. So the biggest one, we want to tuck it into a nice round ball, like so. I just do this by moving it around and tucking in the bottom and just swirling it on the countertop. Then the medium ones, we're gonna shape like this. These are called the bones of the bread. So I'm using my index and middle finger on my left hand and my index finger on my right hand to get 4 bumps out of this piece. And you're rolling and pressing as you're rolling to get that shape. And you need 2 of these. And finally, the smallest piece, you just shape it into a nice round ball as well. And that's it. You are ready to just place those on top of the bigger ball. And to do that, you need a little bit of glue, and that will be water in this case. So get a little bit of water, just add some to the surface of the bun, and place one of the little bones right in the center, like so. Press gently so that it sticks properly. And in the center also, it's gonna have another little bone in perpendicular directions. Again, you want to press gently, and finally in the very center, we're gonna add that little round ball. And that's it, you're done. Now these need to prove for about an hour, again in a warm spot, so that they double in size before we're ready to bake them. And this is how much they expand. These are ready to go into a 170 Celsius oven for about 20 minutes. If you have a difficult oven, just make sure you keep an eye on those so that the top bits don't brown too quickly. Now we want to let these cool before proceeding with the final decoration. And I just wanted to show you what the surface looks like. They are so fluffy, so soft to the touch. I can't wait to dig in. So I have some melted butter here, which I'm gonna brush on top of the entire surface of the bun or the bread, but just on the top, because this is gonna be the glue that holds sugar in place. I'm gonna sprinkle some sugar, some granulated sugar on top, and that butter is gonna catch it. Then dust off the excess, and these are ready to be dunked in some nice hot chocolate. Now the big moment, the crumb shot reveal. I obviously have to show you how beautiful the crumb turns out. It's a very nice and open crumb, very soft bread. You should eat it on the same day. I think it would last 1 or 2 more days if you store them properly in an airtight container. But look at that fluffiness. This is delicious and waiting for me to make some hot chocolate to go with it. I hope you liked this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these recipes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.